For our final presentation, we'll have Javier Wallace from the Metropolitan School of Panama on Afro Latinos. Let's welcome him.
Yo juego para sacarme de la pobreza, para mejorar la calidad de vida para mí y de mi familia. Esas fueron las palabras que yo escuché una noche sentado en mi sala, viendo el campeonato de sub-17 con Kaká, campeonato en Panamá. Buenas tardes, damas y caballeros. Yo soy Javier Wallace. Yo soy director deportivo del Metropolitan School of Panama in Panama City, Panama. I play to remove myself from poverty and to improve my condition for me and for my family. These are the words that I heard sitting in my living room one night in Panama, watching the sub-17 championship CONCACAF football game in Panama City, Panama. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Javier Wallace. I am the athletic director from the Metropolitan School of Panama, born and raised in Austin, Texas, to an East Side mama and a, hey, hold up now. And a Panamanian father, okay? So, you know, I like collard greens, I like arroz con pollo too now. Hey, you know, I know Luther Vandross and Celia Cruz. It goes hand in hand. Yes, we do exist. I'll be presenting to you guys today about Yo Juego Porque. Afro Latinos explain why they play. I have a short video that I would like for you to watch that I created in Panama from my desk at the school. Oh, I'm from fam too now. I forgot to say that.
Porque me gusta y también es como si fuera, se utiliza para defenderse, pues. Así como usos personales y, ¿cómo se dice? Y ayudar a los demás también en cualquier ocasión. Yo primero quiero llegar a ser campeón mundial y ¿cómo se dice? Que los demás aprendan de lo que yo he aprendido, pues.
Porque es el deporte que amo, me gusta porque es competitivo, es divertido y bueno, pues es el deporte que me gusta.
El deporte.
Bueno, espero mucho ser un jugador profesional y mi sueño es llegar a la NBA como todo joven y formar una casa de mi mamá.
Porque, o sea, antes no hacía ningún deporte, pero luego conocí el basquetbol por medio de mi colegio, por el IJA, entonces me llamó muchísimo la atención. El deporte es de personas inteligentes, entonces en mi colegio había un equipo y bueno, siempre me han gustado los deportes y bueno, así quedé jugando básquet por el colegio. En un futuro, bueno, si pienso en grande, me gustaría estudiar fuera de Panamá, en Estados Unidos, que yo sé, Canadá o algo así. Estudiar ingeniería naval es lo que quisiera estudiar fuera con una beca deportiva. O sea, sería lo mejor y más porque ayudaría económicamente a mi mamá y a mi familia. Entonces, estudiaría fuera haciendo lo que me encanta, que es el basquetbol.
When I was 18, when I graduated from high school, I was like, what I gonna do now? Because there's not, at that time, the kids of my age didn't have much opportunity to at least get a scholarship out of the country. And I met Victor Julio and I joined his academy and I started practicing there and worked there as an assistant coach. And at the age of 20, I went to Costa Rica to join the team to go to the showcase in Las Vegas. Then I had an opportunity to get in Scotland, a junior college that it was in Texas. Right now, as a basketball player, my goal is like to play in another country, and I'm capable of doing that. To get that, right now we're playing in the pro league, and then we have a good record. Right now we in the semifinals, and I think we're gonna win that. And we're going to if we win that, we can go to the Leagues of the Americas, and other teams could see us to get a better contract and play in another country. That's the plan right now.
As you're able to see in these videos, these young people, much like the young people that you work with, have the same dreams, the same hopes and desires as athletes to be able to leave their environment and be able to improve their conditions. And in the case of Panama in particular, we have these young people wanting to leave the country. Most of them wanting to come to the United States to be able to enter into our realm and our academia and our institutions to be able to help themselves and their families once they return home, or if they ever return home. I am a product of that. My father had the opportunity to play tennis on scholarship at Houston-Tillotson College here in Austin, Texas. They recruited him from Panama and a host of his brothers and sisters and neighbors to make sure to fill the void when they couldn't find African Americans in Texas to fill a tennis team. They had to go somewhere where there were people that were hungry and people that knew how to play and wanted to do it. And that's how you see me here today. So this is a very important topic to me, talking about us. I was so fortunate to be in the midst of Dr. Joseph in his presentation when he said we need to open this conversation up on a Pan-African on a level, to be able to know that I do exist. You know, I do exist. And when we talk about, I use the term more Afro-descendant than black through living in Panama over these 5 years, because black is a concept that we have developed here in the United States. And when we view populations outside the United States, we oftentimes look through the lens of our lens of construction of race and what black is. And as you can see here, just shortly, you know, Afro-descendants in Latin America have not been historically identified as they have in the United States as any individual with traceable African ancestry. There are many categories of what it means to be Afro-descendant in Latin America, and black can just be a color. Like you see here, lighter-skinned mulattoes do not have to classify as black. They don't have to. And we can't judge these people because they don't see race the way that we do. But that doesn't mean they're not Afro-descendant. Black is abstract. Afro-descendancy is a fact. Okay? And Afro-descendants in Latin America, we have over 150 million Afro-descendants that live in Latin America and the Caribbean. And those are what we've been able to count so far. So you think we're dealing with something with 30+ million African Americans within our borders? Just look south of this border. You have that many more people that we have to work on and bring into this conversation that are playing sports, right? And as here, Afro-descendants in Latin America are disproportionately affected by extreme poverty, social exclusion, and vulnerability. Did you know the third largest population of Afro-descendants in the Americas outside the continent of Africa is the country of Colombia? We don't know if there are between 5 million or 10 million Afro-descendants that live in Colombia. But did you know out of that 10 million, if we put it the highest, 80% of that population lives in extreme poverty? Extreme poverty. And how does this relate to sport? In 2002, Ecuador, a country of 16 million in South America, shocked the world. This country fielded these teams in 2002, 2006, and 2014 to the World Cup, and they were questioned, what African nation is this? When they saw the roster, people asked, what African nation, where's Ecuador in Africa? I'm still looking. But this was important because this population of Afro-descendants are invisible in Latin America. invisible. Most of us do not know that people like me exist. We are invisible. But through sport, recently, we've been able to come out from these cracks. And things like the Black Lives Matter movement have been able to push people to recognize who they are and where they come from. Oftentimes, living in Panama, I see so much of what happens here in the United States. I don't miss a beat. I haven't missed one police killing. I haven't missed any song that came, nothing. But you all don't know what goes on outside of your borders. You don't. You don't at all. But we do. And from this platform, we have the power to be able to affect these lives that are playing sports and that are invisible. And all these issues that we talk about, all these people, I believe, I don't know, I haven't started researching, but I believe face all these issues. But there's no voice. And people believe stuff like this about Afro descendants and their athletic superiority in Latin America right now. It all comes down to the fact that we're black, and this is from a black person. Eraso said, because we're black, we have this culture of sport and athletic skills. This is where the best basketball players come from. The best weightlifters and soccer players. It's intimately linked to our skin. You have stuff like this. This is from my phone that I took out of a picture, out of a newspaper in Panama while I'm riding on the bus. I'll only read you the title. Futbolista panameño. Su potencial se basa en la fuerza, velocidad y lucha producto del cruce de las razas afro-antillanas and indígenas. That says his potential is based on his force, his speed, and fight, which is a product of a cross between the Afro-Antillan race and indigenous race. Okay. This is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the things you will hear. But this precedence, it totally negates historical structural racism. It totally negates the motivation and efforts of these people marginalized to get out of these conditions that they're in. And the thing about it, why it's so important for me to present from here, is because here in the United States, with many scholars just like you, we fought this here in the United States. You can no longer say that that man is good because he's black, only because he's black, because he's black. You can't say that. This thing says he has extra muscle fibers in his leg. This is what it says. You can't say that here. You can't. So what I propose is, we just have to disrupt what's going on. We have to be able to use our platform from where we are right now to open this conversation to all of our Afro descendants outside of our borders in the Americas. I repeat, we have 30-something million African Americans that live in our borders, but at least 150 million. This is new. We have the country of Mexico in 2015, the first time in over 500 years of colonial power in Mexico recognizing Afro descendants in their country in 2015, the first time they counted, getting ready for the census that they're going to distribute next year. And they found that they have over 1 million people that identify as Afro descendants right now. And this is 2015. This is the first time. In many Latin American countries, this is the first time since the 2000s we're starting to count and recognize our Afro-descendant populations. So that's my challenge for you. As we have this new increase in Latino population here in the United States, now being the biggest minority. But did you know, I don't know how true that is, because now you have 25% of this new minority identifying as Afro Latino. 25% are now identified Afro Latino. So you don't know why you work with your student athletes if you have another Javier Wallace walk through your ranks. You don't know. But we have to think about it. Because I'm born right here in Austin, Texas. Went to FAMU. I've been dealing with this dual identity since the day I was born. And I had it worse because my name is Javier. Javier, not Xavier, not Javier, but Javier. I've always had to defend myself. Okay? So let's open this discussion up. And that is my time. Thank you for everything.
All right, 3 magnificent presentations. We have time for approximately 2 or 3 questions, so please, let's open it up to the audience.
Hello, I'm Lubbock Smith. I'm from the University of Kansas. My question is for Mr. Javier. My wife is Mexican and Salvadorian, and she's also an illegal citizen. And we're going to have kids when they don't have kids yet. I want to have 5 kids, and they're all going to be different than both of us. They're going to be Afro Latino. What is the best advice you can give someone like myself and my wife on how to educate our children when we have them on the history that I have no clue about?
Okay, I definitely believe that you do have a lot of shared history with Afro-descendant populations throughout the Americas, just like Dr. Joseph mentioned today during lunch about the Haitian Revolution, that we are products of the Haitian Revolution. You know, you and me and everybody, we do have shared identity as Afro-descendants in the Americas. You know, and now in the information age with your children, you said your wife is Salvadorian and Ecuadorian, Mexican. Both of these countries have, every country in the Americas has a history and population of Afro-descendants. Salvador might not have such a big one. Salvador's the only one with a little bit, but they do. You know, so I encourage you in this information age to be able to show that Latino is not a race, Latino is a culture. The same way, and it's crazy, the same way that black people can be discriminated by not being Latinos, you have white people who are Latinos as well, but we'll never give them that because we don't see them either. You know, so we have to open up that conversation. I encourage you to encourage your kids, encourage you to help your kids get to know more histories about Afro-descendants in the Americas within the political borders that their parents come from, because it's a shared history.
We can take one more. Right down here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharina Lofton from Florida State. So my question is for you, Javier, about this Afro-descendants. I've noticed more recently that has become a topic of discussion, and it hasn't really been for the longest time. Even myself personally, just going back and researching history and looking at things in historical context and finding out more about Afro-descendants in the Caribbean and in the Latin countries. How do you see this, I guess, adding to the Black Lives Matter situation? So you talked about how it's now bringing a little bit more to the conversation and bringing in this group, but how do you see this movement kind of helping those people in those countries that don't necessarily live in the U.S.? And you just said this just happened like last week or something like that. So how do you see it playing out in the future?
Again, I definitely think in the future with this new awakening of Afro-descendants and people in Latin America, in the Caribbean, understanding what Afro-descendancy is and where they fall within Afro-descendancy, it is definitely pushing within those countries for young people, especially right now. These are young people who are starting to awaken, if you will, to lead these movements because they're seeing not only injustices that happen outside of their country, but they're able to make these injustices real to them because they relate to those experiences that they have in their country. And you know, and the big thing through my experiences traveling in Latin America and experiencing other Afro-descendant cultures in Latin America, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement is huge. In Colombia, for example, Colombia had on May 20th, 2016, Colombia had their first Million Man March. And that is directly copied, if you will, from the march that we had here in the United States, where people carried posters and sayings translated directly to Spanish from Martin Luther King, from Malcolm X. And so these young people, especially through social media, because these videos that we have are reaching good and bad, all right? Good and bad. They reach far and wide. So people these young people especially are seeing these things and again relating them to their experiences in their country and pushing for change. So of course we can aid them, but really what they're doing is awakening themselves for themselves and their countries to be able to get that equal playing field.